49ers are on the clock. And Chris, where are you going with the San Francisco 49ers?
Everybody's assuming that they're going to take a quarterback, and they more than likely are definitely going to be. But in my draft, because this is my mock draft, I'm not going that position. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is just fine as a quarterback. I don't think they need to move on. I don't think necessarily that the quarterbacks in this draft are an upgrade over him. It was the top 2 picks, maybe. Number 3, I love Matt Jones. Is he really that better, much better than Jimmy G? I question that. I think Fields has another year or two before he results we kind of hope he goes to be. And Trey Lance, I'm just not a big fan of. So overall, I'm kind of upset with the 49ers making this move. But if I were sitting there at number 3 and I'm looking at the 49ers team, what they could use, I'm actually going to go Kyle Pitts.
Whoa, yeah. Hold on. I'm not looking to argue with you. I just need to drop something to put some focus on that, because if you guys remember, Chris and I had it out, 2 weeks ago on this show about Kyle Pitts and his value and what he was worth and what he could be if he was a wide receiver along with Jamar Chase. So very excited to hear the rest of this take.
Well, I still rank Jamar Chase as a better receiver than Kyle Pitts. However, the fit for this team, I think Kyle Pitts is the perfect fit for what the 49ers do. We know Kyle Shanahan loves to run the ball, loves to attack the edges. He likes to be able to use the bootleg actions. And with the receivers they have in place with Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, he likes receivers that can block. So I look at Jamar Chase as something that maybe would be nice fit for them, but would he be actually properly utilized? I question that. In the offense, what they have with Kittle, who's a great blocker, who can get open all over the field, and Kyle Pitts, you have the kind of reincarnation of Gronk and Aaron Hernandez in a lot of ways. Except for this guy is 6'6". He can run at 4.4. You can split him out. You can use him as a receiver. The 49ers can actually really out-physical a lot of teams with this if they go, even start 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends in some situations where they can flex them out as their sole receiver. They can really create all kinds of mismatches. They're definitely going to be able to attack the edges with this team. And in the red zone, I think they'd be deadly. I think they fit. He complements, like I said, Ayuk well. He complements Samuel well. And he actually provides the ability to stretch the field, which they kind of really need. And if I keep Jimmy G as a quarterback and I have 2 guys who can attack the seams, I think I'm going to be successful.
Of all the
offensive 49er fans, what do you think?
Well, I was going to say, of all the offensive systems out there, the one that could definitely be a 2 tight end set predominant offense and very much succeed is the San Francisco 49ers. We know Kyle Shanahan. I mean, Kendrick Bourne was getting thrown out there as a 3rd receiver all the time. He doesn't care about having a 3rd receiver. And being that George Kittle doesn't have the capacity, at least to this point, to stay actually healthy for an entire season, you don't necessarily lose the entire functionality of your offense when George Kittle goes down. Look, I'm mad that they trade up this much capital too, because it ensures that they're definitely going to take a quarterback. But if in the real NFL draft, if the 49ers took Kyle Pitts instead and stuck with Jimmy G, I'd be happy. I would be completely happy. I'd be completely fine. And from a fantasy perspective, it'd be quite interesting. Now, from a fantasy perspective, let's talk about that a little bit. Both Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski were definitely utilized. We're definitely both top 10 tight ends. We're definitely fantasy relevant in all that sense. But at the time, and I'm trying to remember exactly, but the Patriots, if I remember correctly, only really had 1 wide receiver that they were going to at that time. The 49ers arguably have 2. So the question would be, is there going to be enough targets there to support everybody, or does everybody just kind of take a hit at that point? I would tend to think that from a long-term perspective, I would love Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts and George Kittle would be completely fine. I think you're still looking at 2 top 10 tight ends, and the offense would be able to sustain that. But I think out of Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, one of those 2 would suffer. My money would be on Deebo Samuel being the one who would suffer more so than anybody else. What do you think about the fantasy standpoint from there?
I definitely agree. But I also think, like I said, I think these 2 players, both Kittle and Pitts together, do cause mismatches. And I think they're going to be highly productive fantasy-wise. And I look at the other players in play you're talking about. Deebo Samuel, to me, is the best role is kind of being that Curtis Samuel role, where he's kind of utilized in different ways, kind of jet sweeps, quick screens. He's not a great route runner, so I think a lot of things he does and brings to the table is just getting the balls in his hands, and it's kind of a glorified running game in some senses. Brandon, you can kind of do a little bit of everything. He can catch the screen, he can go deep, he can run defensive patterns. I think Ayuk doesn't really suffer at all if this was a pick. I do agree Samuel might suffer somewhat, but you look at the 49ers, they don't really utilize their backs a lot in the passing game, particularly early downs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they could all be effective.